Mindwise with Dr. Joe Lukens. Are you the sort of person that craves routine? Are you more sort of the person that rejects plans and structure? You have probably heard the term burnout before, but what does that mean and how can your everyday actions keep that at bay? Psychology expert Dr. Joe Lukens is with me now to get Mindwise. Good morning.
Good morning, Susan.
So firstly, what is burnout? We do hear a lot about that. What is it and what causes it?
We do, don't we? That term gets thrown around a lot. And generally what we consider when we're looking at it from a more clinical perspective is it's fairly significant stresses that people are having over an extended period of time, and you really get to that point that you feel like you have nothing left to give. One of the things we know with burnout is it can creep up on us, it fatigues us, and if we don't keep a little bit of an eye out for the signs, if we're not mind-wise about what's happening for us there, we can find ourselves in that really depleted, exhausted state, and it's obviously not an ideal one. So anything we can do to avoid it or minimise the risk of it is a good thing for us to do.
Yeah, so what are some of the causes?
There's a whole range of reasons, and I think if you look at us as humans, we pack a lot in, don't we? And we've talked before, I'm not a huge fan of the word busy, but we do have lives that are full, and I think the numbers I've seen are a little bit sketchy, but it's somewhere around 30 to 40,000 decisions get made every single day. So if you've ever wondered by the time you plonk down on the couch at the end of the day while you're tired, that's probably one of those reasons. So we know that there's a whole range of reasons and parts of everyday life that can lead to burnout. It can be those demands that we have on ourselves. It can be just being tired from making lots of decisions. We live in a very overstimulated world, and sometimes we push our boundaries a little bit and get more asked of us than we're probably able to give. All of those things can be quite fatiguing.
There's some suggestion that incorporating boredom or mundane tasks into our day could help ease the impact of burden or to avoid it?
Yeah, look, it's an interesting idea, and it's one I've been doing a little bit of research on since the topic came up in our discussions last week. And it's interesting, isn't it, the notion that doing some boring tasks, if you like, can be one of those things to reduce it. I've decided, and I don't know why I don't really love the word boredom, so I had to rephrase it for myself.
It's a bit loaded, isn't it?
It is a bit loaded, isn't it? Which is probably a whole other conversation in and of itself. But I've decided that what works for me is the notion of simplifying tasks. And I think that when we look at this notion of doing the more mundane, doing the simpler things, there's a lot of good ways that we could incorporate that into our lives that does reduce the decision fatigue and their impacts and flows out, and potentially helps us then reducing risk of burnout.
So simplifying things, removing decision making. I know a few people that will only eat a specific breakfast because they're like, that's one less decision I need to make every day.
Yeah, and for some people the thought of eating the same thing every day is boring. Yeah. And so that's probably why for some that's not going to work. And the nice thing with this is you just decide which is going to work best for you. But I know I don't know about you, but I'm actually the person who eats the same breakfast every single day.
I'm not.
Oh, you're not?
No.
There you go. So there's a difference for us, because for me, I literally at that point in my daily routine go straight into autopilot and grab the 4 or 5 things that go together to make my breakfast, and I just don't have to think about it. So it's one less decision for me to make.
What are some other little tips that we might be able to include to amplify the simple?
Yeah, amplify. Oh, no, that's a nice way to put it, isn't it? Amplifying the simple. Well, one of them is really to remove mess and clutter. That just by looking at mess, it tends to put our blood pressure up a little bit. So even if you can find a little pocket in your life, and it might be cleaning out the back seat of the car, it could be cleaning out, that cutlery drawer that always seems to get grungy stuff in the bottom of it, those sorts of things.
Yes.
Just cleaning up something simple, removing some of the mess and clutter. I don't know, there might be some people listening who've got their laundry sitting in a pile on their bedroom floor, even putting it into a basket.
How dare you, Dr. Joe?
Sending the cameras out. So we know some of those simple things, tidying is one of those things that has a calming effect, and it's one small thing that we can do that can be helpful.
Wonderful. One thing that also has a calming effect is the tune teaser.
Not for me today, unfortunately. I've heard
Maybe
it
it's
3 or 4 times already.
Maybe it's because it's written on a piece of paper in front of me, but do you know the tune teaser today, Dr. Joe?
I'd hazard a guess that it's Australian because it is Australian Music Monday, but that's all I've got.
Yes, it's the Divinals. Boys in Town. Thanks so much, Dr. Joe.